Hello, fight fans. Seattle Mike MMA with friends. If you like everything boxing, kickboxing, MMA, just out and out violence between two individuals in a square, in a circle, or on a mat, hit that like button, subscribe, ring the bell so you're notified whenever I bring you more violence, like live violence. On January 16th for our fight companion between Max Holloway and Calvin Kattar. First thing out of the way, this is on ABC. So, first time MMA, or at least the UFC, has ever been on the big three. I remember Elite XC and I think Strikeforce were on CBS. Not for very long, though. UFC was on Fox, of course. They had that deal with them for years. But UFC has not been on network television since 2015. Let's jump into this. Calvin Kattar versus Max Holloway. This is such a big fight for both of these guys. Max, the former kingpin of the division, coming back after losing back-to-back fights for the first time in his career against an up-and-comer, the Boston finisher, Calvin Kattar, a guy who has incredible boxing, well-polished MMA fighter. Let's start out by breaking down Calvin Kattar. Comes into this fight. He's 5'11". He's got 11 knockouts out of 22 wins, just 2 submissions. He's been submitted once, lost 3 times by decision. A good fighter. He's won 4 of his last 5. And a lot of people say they think he would have won all of those last 5 if the Zabit fight had been a 5-round fight. I say woulda, coulda, shoulda. Because Zabit trained for a 3-round fight. If he would have trained for a 5-round fight, maybe it goes differently. Maybe he doesn't start to tire when he did. We're not going to know unless these guys ever fight for 5 rounds, obviously. But 4 out of 5, he's got a good streak coming in, and he's got some good things going on for him. He just won a match against Dan Ige, who, 5-round match, it was a beautiful performance. Ige is one of the best boxers in the featherweight division. And Calvin Kattar looked absolutely amazing. He did not start extremely fast. He never does. He is a slow starter. He started slow against Zabit, gave those first 2 rounds away, warmed up in the 3rd. He was criticized for that. Going into the Jeremy Stephens fight, he said, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to start quicker. When did he decide to start? 7 minutes into the fight. Jeremy Stephens comes out on absolute fire because Jeremy Stephens is one of the fastest starters in MMA history, probably. Comes out and he is tagging Kattar with everything Jeremy Stephens does. Leg kicks, body kicks, uppercuts, hooks. Kattar's looking like he's in trouble. He's not looking like the favorite that he is on the scorecards in that first round. About halfway through the second round, or 2 minutes into the second round, he starts to warm up. He's getting into an exchange with Stephens, and he lands a big right elbow. It's a counter elbow as Stephens is coming in with a shot. It knocks him down, stuns Stephens. And then the ground and pound on the floor. There's a big left elbow, which was the biggest ground and pound shot. Slices Stephens' head open like a Ginsu, and he gets a big finish. Still took him 7 minutes to get started, and that's starting quickly for him. Calvin Kattar is a notoriously slow starter, and he knows it. What does Calvin Kattar do good? He's a good counter striker, as we've seen from that shot on Stephens, catching him coming in. He's got a good right hand over the top. He's got good boxing, but it's European robotic. I think he's somewhat of a robotic striker, especially compared to a guy like Max. His boxing style, to me, fits more into a boxing ring than an MMA cage, although he has definitely had some success with the style. Let's talk about some weaknesses. Leg kicks. That's his biggest weakness. Calvin Kattar couldn't check a leg kick to save his life in most of the fights that we've seen him in. In the Renato Moicano fight back in 2018, Moicano basically stopped him from leg kicks. And then the Zabit fight, Zabit landed a lot of leg kicks as well. Now his cardio gets him through a lot of these fights, a lot of the decisions, and then you see he ends up getting some late round stoppages. He's definitely got some first round stoppages late in the first round there too, though. So it's not that he can't get things done early. He's just not the fastest starter. And Max definitely is, especially for a guy that was champion so long, that's fought so many 5-round bouts. Max is a really fast starter for a guy with that kind of experience. And one of the big numbers that jumps out is this, is even though Max has been around forever, he's still 3 years younger. He's only 29 years old. And he's probably the only first ballot Hall of Famer under 30 years old that the UFC's ever had. If Max Holloway was to retire tomorrow, there's no doubt that he would be in the Hall of Fame. Or if he retired after this fight. I have no reason to believe that he would, but he would be in the Hall of Fame. Looking at these two records side by side, for Max and for Calvin, we talked about Calvin winning 4 out of 5. Coulda, shoulda, woulda been 5 out of 5. You look at Max Holloway's record and you think, wow, okay, I know what this is. I've seen this before. This is the young lion being fed, the old lion, the old champion that's past his prime, and that couldn't be further from the truth. Yes, Max has technically lost 3 of his last 4. The one against Dustin Poirier, of course, was for an interim title, not in his weight class, and that was a great fight. I'm not going to hold that one against him. He definitely lost the first fight to Volkanovski. Now, I just watched the second Volkanovski fight about an hour ago downstairs, and I watched it this time with the volume on. Everybody says the first 2 rounds go to Max. We're pretty much all in agreement on that, and for the most part, the last 2 go to Volkanovski. So the third round was always the round in question. But I went back to the first again. And here's why. Here's what we all missed. And I have no idea how I missed this. The first round is an obvious 10-8 round for Max Holloway. He lands 50% more strikes, 60% more significant strikes. He floors Calvin Kattar with a head kick, is putting pressure on him, belting him at the end of the round. It's a textbook 10-8 round. Max easily wins the second. So at that point, it's 2017 Max, and the best Calvin Kattar can do without a 10-8 or a finish is a draw, if the judges are going to decide to do their job tonight. So I go back and I watched the third round. The first time I watched the fight, I scored the third round for Max. The second time when I watched it this time, I edged it for Volkanovski. So, it's 1-1 in the 2 times that I've watched it. But let's say you give it to Volkanovski. The best Alexander could do was a draw, and that would give him the draw if he gets the third round. Long story short, Max Holloway didn't lose that fight. So Max is not on the downslide that a lot of people would like to think. Let's talk about the things that Max does good. 3 big reasons that Max has been on top or was on top as long as he was. Because a lot of people look at Max and they say, man, he doesn't have the suffocating wrestling that Khabib Nurmagomedov does. He doesn't have that one-punch power like Conor McGregor. He doesn't have those whipping leg kicks like Jose Aldo did back in the day. What does he do that makes him so special? That's because he does 3 things that make him so special. Max Holloway, he's an incredible kickboxer. He has almost impeccable takedown defense. If he's taken down, he pops right back up. It's got to be the most frustrating thing ever after putting that much effort into a takedown attempt. And third is volume, volume, volume. Now, you could maybe go through the stats and find a guy that throws more shots or lands more shots. I'm not interested in that. Max Holloway throws the most significant volume in the game as far as I'm concerned, from everything I can see. You could say Colby Covington, but Colby Covington admittedly is throwing 40, 50, at the most 60%. Max Holloway, he's hitting you a 50, pop, 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 pop. Now it's 60. Now it's 70. Now it's 85. Now it's 100. And now we're mixing it up. We're throwing some 60s and some 50s in there. And it's all over the place. And you're getting hit with medium shots. You're getting hit with hard shots. And you don't know what's coming. It's to the body. It's to the head. Max Holloway is one of the most creative strikers to ever enter the octagon. Similar to John Jones in that way of his style. And the other thing that he does so great is using the reach. And it's really the reach that he doesn't have. Because Volkanovski technically had a 2-inch reach advantage, even though he wasn't the shorter, he was a shorter fighter in that fight. The way Max fights, the way he extends his body out, if you were watching the fight, you would have thought Max had a 5-inch reach advantage. So, he uses that very well. And then what Max is going to do is he's going to set up traps. And he's very good at this. And Calvin Kattar, he got caught in a lot of the same kind of traps that Max Holloway sets in the Zabit Magomed fight. Max, he's like a better version of Zabit. Zabit is like a Max Holloway that's not quite finished, in my opinion, with a little bit better wrestling. But other than that, Max is better at everything. And Calvin had issues with several things, with leg kicks, which he always does. Something Max throws very well, and that's those spinning kicks to the body, and especially in the corners. Zabit got him up against the fence with those spinning body kicks to the corners. Max did very well on those shots against Volkanovski, and we know he always lands those shots. Kattar's also very susceptible to straight shots and uppercuts, which Max throws a lot of. And Zabit was short with most of his hooks. But Zabit throws more of a boxing textbook hook. More of a, it's way out here. It's like, and you can see it coming for a while. Max, because he throws these kind of volume things, his hooks they're almost like a jab. And I think he's going to bring the right hand behind that. See, you can throw that hook. You got to be in pretty close, but you can throw a hook pretty damn fast. You throw your jab, and just a little pop of the hip. And what I think we're going to see Max doing is landing that, and then I think he's going to land that right hand behind it, and he just works combos off of that like crazy. You're going to see the left hook and the right kick to the body. I think that he's just going to be eating Kattar alive for the first 2 rounds. And then Kattar is going to, he's going to wake up and he'll probably get started about the 3rd round, like he did against Zabit, and kind of like he generally does. Even though he landed that big shot against Stevens, he hadn't really upped the volume yet. Max has great cardio. He's not going to run out of gas like Zabit did, but we've seen in the Volkanovski fight that he definitely wasn't as sharp in rounds 4 and 5 as he was in 1 and 2. And Volkanovski had more left in the tank. He had more power, and he won those last 2 rounds. That could happen for Calvin, but I think it happens later. I don't see Calvin winning any rounds until the 4th. And I don't see him stopping Max. Max has been stopped once, and that was against Dustin Poirier by submission in 2012. Never been knocked out. Even Conor couldn't knock him out. All the power punchers that Max has fought, he's never been knocked out. I don't think Calvin Kattar is going to be the first. Calvin Kattar, I think he's going to get hit a lot. He's going to get hit with hard shots, and I think he's going to get busted up a lot like Brian Ortega did. Just with the volume, and then Max is going to start throwing in those 60 and 70%, those uppercuts and things, and I think Max probably stops Calvin in the 4th or 5th round, or wins a unanimous decision. And I don't know if he'll get another shot at the title right away. Depends on how Brian Ortega does against Volkanovski. But let me know what you guys think. Are you excited to have the UFC and MMA back on network television? And who do you think wins this fight? How do you think it goes down? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know down there in the comments. Guys, as always, I love you. I respect you. And I'll see your fine asses later.